Hello my friend, welcome to this video. In this video we are going to build an application with name The World. Now this application is very interesting. Alright, in this application we are going to use Material UI library to build the UI. We are going to use Axios to integrate third-party API in the application, and this application is going to be a full-fledged application where we have UI in React.js and we also have the API which will be integrating with the React.js. So this is going to be superb exciting thing for you. Now before jumping into the application itself, I have a small request for you. It's very simple request. You can fulfill it very easily. What you just need to do is you just need to subscribe to my channel. That's it. Alright, so you have subscribe button down below. You just need to hit that button. It will help me a lot. It will give me so much motivation to make more and more videos on React.js and more technical topics. Alright, so with this, let's start with the application detail. Let's see what we are going to build today, and then we'll start the implementation. Alright, so this is the world application, and this world application is nothing but a directory, okay, directory of the countries, alright, that we will be building. So this is how it is going to look. This is the home page of the application where you can see list of countries getting displayed in form of a card. Alright, we have some filters over here where you can use search for countries filter, and you can also filter out the countries based on the regions. So you can see we have regions like Asia, Europe, then America. So these are the regions that we have. Alright, so you can also filter out the countries based on the region. Each and every country, when it is displayed here, is displayed in form of a card. So you can see on the card we are showing flag of the country, then we are showing name of the country in the bottom, we are showing its capital, and then its population. Alright, so these are the details that we are showing here. All the countries are currently sorted in ascending order. Alright, now you can also click on the country card to see the detail of that country. So let's say if I click here, you can see it will load the detail for Albania country. Alright, so you can see in the details what we show is we show the flag of the country, we show name of the country here, we also show the local name of the country, we show the capital, we show the region in which that country is present, we show the area, population, time zone, languages which that country speaks, all the countries with which the border of the country is shared, we show name of those countries. So you can see the names over here. These names are also clickable, so you can also click here, let's say, and go to the country with which the border is shared. Alright, so yeah, this is the information that we show for the individual country. We also have support for dark and light themes, so you can see we have a toggle over here. So if we toggle this, you can see we are switching into the dark theme, and if we untoggle this, we are back to our light theme. Alright, so I hope you are clear with the application that we have to basically build. This is the world application, which is the directory of the countries which are present in the world, where we are showing list of the countries and also detail of each and every country whenever you are going to click on it. Alright, now this data is precise. Alright, this is not some dummy data that I have placed in the application. This is a real-time data which is coming from one REST API, and I'm going to tell you about the REST API that we will be using for our project to get the data of the countries in the world. Alright, so with this, let's quickly get started into the implementation. Let's start working on the React project for this application. First of all, let's start with creating the React app for our project. Alright, so let me open terminal quickly. Let me zoom in a little bit. So let me change my directory first of all. So I'll go to workspace, hobby projects, and then React project series. So here what I'll do is I'll create the React app for our project. I'll name it as The World. So I'll fire this command npx create -react -app space name of the app, that is The World. So what this will do is it will create a basic app for us, basic React.js app for us. Alright, so let's wait for few seconds, and then this command will be completed. Alright, so create React app has been finished. Now what we can do is we can change our directory to the app that has been created. So we'll go to the world directory. Alright, and let's open this directory in VS Code. So we have this code space dot command to open the directory in VS Code. So I'll just hit enter, and you can see the code will open in VS Code. Alright, now we'll do the same thing that we usually do, that is the cleanup task. So in SRC what we'll do is we'll just keep the index.js file and app.js file. We'll delete all the other files. Alright, so let's delete setup, test, logo, then index, app test, app.css. Let's delete all these files. All right, and then let's also clean app file. So here what I'll do is I'll just say hello, and in index.js what I'll do is I'll remove this report web vital. See, this is the same thing that we usually do, right, in all our applications, all our projects basically. So that's it, I guess. In app.js, let me see if we have anything which we are not using, which is imported. So I'll delete that logo. Oh, all right, so I think we are good on src folder front. Let's see what we have in public. So whatever we have in public, we just need this index.html. We don't need any other stuff. So I'll just delete this favicon.ico, then this logo, manifest, robots, delete all this thing. And then in index.html, just keep this div. All right, you don't need any other thing. So what I'll do is I'll clear this entire head, and let's change the title to the world. All right, let's go to package.json, and in this we have some scripts. So we have build script, test script, eject script. So we don't need these scripts, so we'll just keep the start script. And we also have some dependencies which we don't need now, which is testing library. So let's delete testing dependencies and web vitals dependencies. So that's it. All right, now what I'll do is I'll delete this node model folder, and I'll do, let me open the terminal. I'll do npm install. So now what this command will basically do is I have deleted the dependencies, few of the dependencies from package.json, right? So what it will do is it will create a new node model folder for me with the reduced dependencies. All right, and now what I'll do is we have the dependencies installed. So now let's start the application. So to start the application, you just need to hit npm start command. So I'll write npm followed by start. All right, so you can see the application is getting started. We have got some error actually. So it is saying can't resolve app.css. all right, so in some of the file we are importing app.css and we don't have app.css. You can see over here we have app.css imported. So yeah, now you can see it has got compiled successfully. And now if I open localhost 3000, you can see we have hello. All right, so our basic setup is now done. All right, now let's proceed with some more steps for the installation. So as I said, we are going to use one material UI library for building the components. So let's install the material UI library for our project. So let me type mui.com. all right, so this is a material UI library that we can use for our React project. So let's click on get started. All right, and we have something called an installation over here in the documents. So click on installation. So you can see it is giving us few steps that we can use to install the material UI library for us. All right, so this is the npm step. So let's copy this step and let's enter it here. Okay, so this is also one of the dependency for our project. All right, because we are going to use it. So all right, we have installed the material UI library for our project, and I guess now we are good. All right, now let's start working on our application. So as you know, what we have is the world application. It is directory of the countries. So let's imagine the home page. See, on the home page, what we need to do is we need to show two filters on top. First filter is going to be the search box where you can search the country, and second filter is going to be a drop down where you're going to show list of regions. Okay, so Asia, then America, so these regions, right? That is going to be filter number 2. And then below that you show list of the countries based on the filter which is selected. All right, if there is no filter selected, then you show all the countries which are present in the world, and if there are some filters selected, then you filter out the countries based on the filters. All right, first of all, what we'll do is we'll focus on showing all the countries. Let's not think about the filters. We'll implement the filters logic later on. So first of all, let's think of showing all the countries, and then we'll think about the filters. So what I'll do is, see, first of all, let's create one folder called as components. So here we'll store the components for our project. All right. Now in this components folder, let's create one file. I'll name it as country card.js. All right. So in this file, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a component for the country card. So the country card is going to look something like this. It is going to have flag on top. Then below the flag, it is going to have name of the country, and below the name of the country, it is going to show capital of the country and the population of the country. So this is the information that we are going to have in the country card. Now let's create one functional component for this country card file. So I'll name it as function country card. All right. It will take some props and it will return some JSX. For now, I'll just return one empty element, and let's export this function. So I write export function country card. Let's export default. Okay, function country card. Now what I'll do is I'll import this country card in app.js over here. All right. I'll write country card here, and this needs to be imported. So let's write import country card from component/country card. All right, and let's save it. Now in country card, what I'll do is I'll just, let's say, instead of returning an empty element, I'll just return a div, and let me write, let's say, country 1. All right, so let's see what do we have. You can see it shows country 1 over here. All right, so this is the basic setup that we have in place. Now what I'll do is, see, this country card, it takes some props, right? So let's send some props to this country card. So let's send, let's say, name of the country, let's say India. Then we'll send capital of the country, which is New Delhi. All right, and let's send population of the country. So in case of India, it is 130 CR. All right, so let me not count the zeros, I'll write some big number. All right, so this is the population of India. Now what this country card component will do is it will take values from the props and it will simply display them. So it will first display props.name, then it will display props.capital, then it will display props.population. All right, let's see if this works. So you can see we see India, New Delhi, and the population. All right, so it works. We can also wrap it in paragraphs so that it will be shown on separate lines. Let me wrap everything in p tag. All right. Okay, so you can see it is getting shown properly now. India, then New Delhi, and then population. All right. So see, what is the advantage of using components? So we can easily replicate it now for another country. Let's say we have to display another country. Then what I can do is I can show another country card, and let's say I'll send another detail to it. So let's say I'll show another country, which is USA. Its capital is New York. Okay, and then I don't know its population, let's say 50 CR something. All right, so this is USA. All right, so let's see. You can see it shows India followed by USA. All right, so now we have the basic setup in place. This is interesting, right? Now what we just need to do as a next step is we'll just beautify it a little bit. All right, so what we'll do is we'll display this thing India and then USA in form of a card. So for this we'll use the material UI. So let me go to material UI, and here what we can do is we can go to components, and in component just search for card component. All right, so you can also search here, let's say card. You can see we get card component. So this is how the card component looks like. So we have multiple types of cards. Basic card, this is the outline card, you can see the difference. This has a border, a slight border. Then we have complex interaction. This is another card. You can see such kind of cards in some Instagram kind of things, right, where we have posts, we have some caption of the post, and then we have like button, share button, so we have username. So you must have seen these kind of cards in Instagram. Then we have this card, which is media card, where we have media on top, and then name, and then some description, and then some action buttons over here. All right, so I think for our purpose this media card is going to be perfect, because you know we need to show country flag over here, the name of the country over here. We don't need to show this information, so we can remove it. And then we need to show capital and then the population. Okay, so we can show it over here, or maybe we can show it over here, and we'll remove these action buttons. So let's use this card. So to use this card, what you just need to do is you just need to click on this show the source code button. All right, so once you click on this button, it will reveal the source code. We have two options, one is with TypeScript and another one with JavaScript. So as our project is in JavaScript, all right, so currently we are not building anything in TypeScript. So for that you will have to select JS over here, and then you just need to copy the code. All right, that's it. It's quite simple, right? Now what we'll do is we'll go to VS Code, go to country card, and now in this country card we just need to paste this code. So let's paste it here. All right, see, now what I'll do is I'll change name of this component, which is currently img media card, to country card. All right, and let's delete this component that we created earlier, and then here I'll write props. Let's save it, and let's see what we have in the UI. So I'll go back to the world. So you can see we have the cards. All right, so you can see currently the image is missing, but apart from the image you can see we have the card, a proper card, and we haven't written any CSS for it. So this is the advantage of Material UI library. You get the components out of the box and you can directly start using them, and you just don't need to write any code for them. All right, you just need to copy paste the code snippet and then start using it. All right, so now let's make use of this code snippet or this country card, and let's show some proper information in this card. All right, so first of all, here instead of lizard we'll show name of the country. So the name will come from props, so I'll write props.name. okay, here in place of description, okay, what I'll do is I'll show population, capital followed by population. So I'll write, let's say, props dot capital followed by, let's say I'll add this separator, and then props dot population. All right, and we don't need this card actions, so I'll just delete them. And currently, all right, we also don't have the image, so we'll add some URL from the internet. All right, so let's imagine that this image URL is coming as a prop. Okay, so here instead of this URL I'll write props.flag URL. okay, and we expect this flag URL to be sent from the props. So here ideally we should get the flag URL. Let's copy flag URL from the internet. So I'll search for India, and let's go to Wikipedia, and we'll copy the flag URL from Wikipedia. So yeah, this is the flag. Let's copy the URL and let's paste it here. All right, similarly let's do it for other countries. Let's say USA. So I'll search for USA, again go to Wikipedia. Okay, let's go to Wikipedia. Where's Wikipedia link? Okay, here. Cool, and let's copy the flag and let's paste it here. So we'll need to add flag URL for USA as well. All right, so now we are good. You can see what changes I have done. So basically we changed the image URL. So earlier it was some static value, so now we change it to props.flag URL. all right, you can also change the height, we'll see that later. Then I change the text, which was I guess lizards, to props.name, and then I also change the typography text over here, so it is capital followed by population. All right, now let's see what we have in the UI. Okay, so somehow the image is not getting shown properly, so let me see why. First of all, see, this alt text needs to be name of the country, okay, not that green iguana or something. So let me change this props name to alt name to props.name, okay, and flag URL should basically come. Let's see. Okay, so the spelling is correct. Somehow this URL is maybe not accessible properly. Okay, let's search for another flag image. So let's say India flag. Let me get some image quickly. Copy image address. Okay, let's paste it to our code. Okay, now I think it should work. Let's see. Cool, so you can see, you know, image for India is working. All right, let's use the flag for USA as well. So USA. So you know, there was some issue with the previous image, so that's why it was not working. So I'll copy the image address again, and let's paste this image address here. So it should work for USA as well now. All right, so now you can see we have India and then USA. And you can see the information is also getting displayed very nicely, right? So we have flag getting displayed on top, and then we have name of the country and capital followed by population. All right, now what we'll do is we'll, you know, align these cards properly in a row. Okay, currently they're getting displayed one after another, so let's align them properly. So for that, what we'll do is see this div which is wrapping these country cards. So this basically should be a flexible div, so it should be a flex component. So for this, what I'll do is I'll create one file, the CSS file for this app.js. So I'll write app.css, and let's import this app.css here. So I'll write import ./app.css, and now what I'll do is for this div, or I'll add another div as a wrapper for country cards. All right, let's move these country cards to the wrapper div that I just created. And you know what, let me add a class name to this div. Let's say country card wrapper. Okay, and now let's add some styles to this country card wrapper. So all right, it haven't been copied properly. Okay, so first of all, let's add display property. So display will be flex. Okay, all right, so you can see, you know, it is showing these cards properly now in one single line. Let's add flex gap. So I think it just gap, let's say 10 pixels. So now we also have the gap between the elements. All right, all right, and then country card is, it should have some width, fixed width. So I'll say width, let's say 200 pixels. Let's see how it looks. All right, somehow this width property is not taking any effect. So okay, we have max width here, so let's add width as well, 200, let's say. Okay, cool. So now you can see both the cards are having 200 widths, 200 pixel width. Let's verify that. So I'll just select this card. You can see its width is 200. Okay, and then let's select this card as well. You can see its width is 200. All right, So cool. So the country card are getting displayed properly, and now it's very simple to replicate them. We just need to, let's say if I copy paste this, let me go to app.js. If I copy paste this, let's say 100 times, okay, let's say if I do this, you can see it will show those many countries. All right, now the CSS is not really good. I mean, it's not showing it properly. All right, so we'll need to work on that, but apart from that, you can see the cards are getting replicated. All right, so let's take pause over here, and you can try to complete this project till this point. All right, and then we'll continue. All right, so I hope you have completed the project till this point. Now let's continue to the next part. Before continuing to the next part, let's actually correct the CSS of this. Okay, so let me go back to the code and let's correct the CSS. See, we have actually few things which we are not using, few imports that we are not using. Let me delete them. This one, which we are not using right now. All right, now in app.css, what I'll do is I'll say flex wrap, and it will be wrap. So yeah, you can see, now the things are getting displayed properly. All the cards are getting displayed properly, so they are not shrinked. All right, so with this change in the CSS, we are able to correct the issue with the CSS. All right, now what we'll do is, let me delete the mess that we have spread over here. All right, good. See, now again we have only two countries, India and USA. All right, now let's do one very important thing. Let's get the data of the countries which are present in the world. All right, this is the hard-coded data that we have right now, which is India and USA that we are getting. Let's get the real-time data from some API, and then let's display the information based on the data that we are receiving from the API. So for this, we are going to use one API which is publicly available, and the name of the API is REST countries. All right, so this is the API that we can use to get the data of the countries which are present in the world, restcountries.com. okay, so you can open this site, restcountries.com, and then you will land over here. This is the page for that API. All right, now this API actually has different versions. So the latest version is version 3, okay, v3, but for our project we will use v2. All right, version 2. All right, because this v3 version is very recently launched, so let's use v2 version, although v3 is also stable, but let's use v2 because I am more aware of v2 and I haven't seen actually changes that have been done in v3. All right, now let's say if you want to get list of all the countries which are present in the world, then we have API endpoint, that is all. All right, so if you click here, you will get, you'll get information of the all endpoint, which URL you need to call. So this is the URL of all endpoints. So if you copy this URL, let's say, and if you paste it here, this is the get request. You can see this is the data that we are getting. All right, and it's huge data, right? So basically we are getting all the information of all the countries which are present in the world. All right, so this is the API that will give us list of all the countries. So now let's use this API to get list of all the countries, and we'll see how we can display the countries in form of a card. All right, so let's go back to the code. Now what I'll do is I'll create one folder with name services. Okay, let's create one index.js file. Okay, see, I'll store the URL of the API, so I'll call it as API endpoint. So let's store the URL. So this is the base URL, right? v2, this is the base URL of our API. Let me name it as country API endpoint. Okay, this is the URL of the API, and let's create one function actually, get all countries. See, this function will basically, what this function will do, it will call the API. Okay, it will get the result from the API, So it will call the API and get the result, and then basically it will return a promise. All right, so you know, API call is an asynchronous thing because it might take some time to get a response from the API, so it is an asynchronous thing. So this function will return a promise, all right, and then we will await on that promise, and once that promise is resolved, we will get the data of the country. This is how it's going to work. All right, now the main thing, how we can make the API call, how we can call the API in React.js. So for that, there are like multiple methods to call the API in React.js. So for this project, we are going to use a package called Axios, which is very famous package from React.js. So Axios, this is the package. So we can use this package to make the API call. All right, so you can see this is the npm page for that Axios package. We can install it using this command npm install Axios, and let's first do the installation. So I'll go back to VS Code. Let's open the terminal and let's fire npm install Axios. So it will install the Axios, and once it is installed, what we can do is we can start using it like this. This is how we can import it. Let's see how we can make a get request using Axios. So this is how we can make a get request using Axios. So we have to write axios.get and then URL of the request. All right, so get request is an API request where you API requests are of different type, right? Get request, we have post request, we have put request, we have delete request. So based on which request you want to make to the API, you will call the equivalent method on Axios. All right, so we'll discuss about that later, but you can see in this package, so in API we have different types of requests. Like we have get requests, we have post requests, we have put requests, we have delete requests, so many types of requests, right? Now based on the type of API request you want to make, you can basically call the method on Axios, right? So let's say if you want to make a get request to the API, you can write axios.get. If you want to make a post request, you can write axios.post. All right, so we'll discuss that later on. See, this REST countries API, this all endpoint is a get endpoint. All right, and I'll say all the endpoints for this API are get endpoint because we are not going to modify any data, we are not going to store something on the server, we are just going to get the data right from this API. So all the endpoints of this API are get endpoints. Let's say in future in some of the projects we'll use a API where we are also going to use post endpoint and put endpoint or delete endpoint. All right, but for this project it's just going to be a get endpoint. All right, so this package has been installed, I guess. Now let's use this package. So I'll go back to the code and over here let's import Axios. All right, let's call axios.get. So let's make a get request. All right, now while making a get request, we need to provide the URL. Okay, so in this case the URL is going to be the base endpoint, the base URL followed by the extension, so what you want to add to the end. All right, now in this case we need to add /all to the end, right? So I'll write, let's say here I'll write /all. Okay, so this way we'll get list of all countries. Now this get method that we have on Axios actually returns a promise. Okay, so what we can just do is we can just return axios.get. So this get method, when you call it, it returns the promise, and it gets the promise that get method returns, it gets resolved when the API call is complete. All right, so you can directly return the return value of get, and that's it. So now what we can do is we can actually call this get all countries method in app.js. So focus very carefully now. See, what I'll do in app.js is I'll write one use effect. This is like component did mount, right, in functional component. So I'll write a use effect with empty dependency array, so it will be called only once for this component, right? Okay, and in this use effect what I'll do is I'll call the get all countries function. Now this get all countries function needs to be imported, so it needs to be imported from here, so I'll need to export it. So let's export it and let me import it here. So I'll say import. I'm not default exporting it, so you will need to import it like this. from dot slash services. I'm importing it from services and I'm calling it. Now when you call this function is an asynchronous function, right? It basically returns a promise. So once you call this function to get the result, okay, what you need to do is you need to write dot then on this, and you know, in dot then you will get the result. So in this case it is going to be the country's data. And once we get the country's data, for now simply what I'll do is I'll just console log it. So I'll write console log countries. Let's print the countries on the screen. Now let's verify this. So I'll go to our application and refresh it. So you can see it prints the countries, right? You can see it over here. This is the data that we have. So basically it's an object. It has some config, some data, some header, some request, and status, and then status text. Okay, see this status 200 basically means the request has got served successfully. Status text okay means again the same thing, it has been served successfully. And this is the data. See, this is the typical structure of the REST API, right? So you have data where you actually get the response, you have status of the request, and then the status text as well. Okay, so this is something which is important for us. This is an array of 250 objects. So if I expand this, you can see this is the 0th country, this is the first country, and so on. This is the 0th object. If you see it, you can see it basically has capital, region, and things like that, like name. Okay, so basically we are getting data of the country, and this is a real country. Like this Kabul is a capital of Afghanistan, right? So we're getting a real data. This is very exciting, right? So now let's use this data in our application, and then we will show this data in form of a card. So in order to use this data, what I'll do is I'll create one state. Let's name this state as countries list. Set countries list will be the function to set the countries list, and let's call use state hook here from React. And you know, initially the list of country will be an empty array because initially we don't have the data. That's why it will be an empty array. Now once we get the data, okay, see this is the data actually. So I'll actually rename it to data. So once you get the data, or I'll rename it as to result. So once you get the result from this get all countries, what I can do is I can get countries out of it by writing result.data. So in this result.data, see, you can see it over here. So this entire object is result, and then inside this result object we have data which is going to give us array of the countries. So this result.data is actually our countries. Okay, so all right. See, now once we get the countries out of the result, what I'll do is I'll just call this set countries list function, and I'll pass countries to it. So what this will basically do is it will set the countries into this state, which is countries list, right? Now once we have the valid data in the countries list, what I'll just need to do is, see, I'll call this map function on the countries list. I'll get individual country, and for that individual country we'll return a country card. Okay, let me delete this card now, and we'll change the hard-coded values now. Okay, see, this is the simple code that we have written. See, now name will come from country.name. I'll show you how it works. See here, let's say if you see this country, you can see we have name in name field, right? Then we have capital in capital field. So again, the capital will come from country.capital. Population will come from country. I assume it must be country.population, but let's verify. Yes, you can see population, country.population, and you know, we also have the flag URL, so that is also great. So you can see the flag URL is present here. So you can see this is the flag URL. So let's say if I copy this URL and let's say paste it here, it should open the flag. Okay, so this is a flag of Afghanistan. So we have flag URL in flag. Okay, now if you want more specific URL of the flag, we also have a field called as flags, and in that flags is basically an object. So we have flag in PNG format, and we also have it in SVG format. Now based on the way you need to have the flag image, you can select. All right, so we have two options: either you can use flag or you can use flags.svg or flags.png. So what we'll do is we'll use flags.png. Okay, let's use the PNG image for our purpose. So I'll say country.flags.png. Cool, and that's it. Now I'll go to our site. You can see we have list of countries. Isn't that great? Let's see, do we have any errors in the console? So let's see that. Okay, so we have an error. It is saying each child in the list should have a unique key prop. So this is the warning, not an error. So basically, whenever you're using map, and whenever you are generating multiple elements using map, you should give a unique key to them. So let's give a unique key to them. See, what we can do is, see, every country is going to have a country code. Okay, so you can see over here the country has this alpha 2 code. Okay, this is the unique code. We have alpha 3 code as well. So this is like 3 character long unique code. Okay, so every country is going to have it. So for example, for India, it is going to be IND, let's say. All right, so this is how we are going to have country code, unique country code for each country. So maybe we can use this code as a key. So let's pass it as a key, and now ideally that error should go. So I'll refresh. So you can see that warning has vanished, and now you can see we have list of countries here, and this is looking great, right? It's a big list, actually, very big list. We have, I guess, around, I don't know how many countries are there in the world. My general knowledge is not good, but we have big list of countries. I mean, it's a big list. All right, so yeah, I mean, so far what we have done is we have integrated the REST countries API in our application using Axios. We have called the API, we have called get method of Axios, and then pass the URL of the endpoint to get list of all the countries that are present in the world. And then Axios is basically returning us a promise. So after we resolve the promise, we are adding .then on the method. See over here, we are adding .then. So once the promise is resolved, we are getting the result. We are getting data out of the result, which is our countries, list of countries, and we are just setting the state with the value that we are getting. And here what we are doing is, on the state we are adding one map. So it will basically iterate on the list, and then for each and every country we are returning one country card for that country, and in that way we have this UI, this output, right? And here two things are helping us. So two things have very important role. First is Axios. Because of Axios, for us it is very easy to make the API call. That is one thing. And the second thing, which is very important for us, which is material UI library. Because the material UI library, with minimal CSS, we are able to make this UI, right? So I hope you are clear till this point. So take pause over here, pause the video over here, and try to complete the project till this point, and after that we'll continue with the next part. Now as the next step, what we'll do is we'll try to implement the router in this application. Now let me explain you what do I mean by router. See, currently we just have a single page in our project, right? So we just have a home page, let's say, all right, where we show a list of all the countries. But now what we will do is we'll add one more route to our application, so that, let's say, if someone clicks on the country, let's say if someone clicks on Argentina, I want to show a page with detailed information of Argentina. Okay, now that page is going to have a different URL. Let's say something like this. This is the landing page, this is the home page. Let's say we have a page with name, let's say countries / let's say name of the country, or the country code, let's say for Argentina, let's say it is ARG, for example. So if someone goes to URL like this, country slash, let's say alpha 3 country code that we have used previously, so in that case the detailed page of that country needs to be shown. All right, so something like this needs to be achieved. Let's see how we can do it. See, React.js is usually used for the single page applications, all right, but in React.js as well we have the possibility for adding the routing. All right, we can add URLs, different URLs to React.js as well, but in order to do that we need to add one third party package and additional package for handling the routing. All right, so the package that we can use for the routing is called as React router DOM. So this is the package that we can use. So I'll go to npm page of React router DOM and we can copy this command and let's fire this command so that this package will be installed. So let's install this package. All right, so this package has been installed. Now I'll show you how to use it. Okay, it's very simple. See, in index.js currently what we are doing is we are rendering app component. Okay, app component. This is the component that we are rendering from index.js. Now this component is basically the home page component, I can say, right? So it is basically the component which is responsible for showing all the countries. So what I'll do is I'll create a folder with name pages. So pages, see, inside the pages I'll create a file. I'll call it as home.js. So this is going to be my home page. Now whatever logic I have written inside app.js, I'll just copy it from here and I'll paste it inside home.js. This is going to be my home page component. Okay, I'll also copy this app.css from here and I'll paste it here. Okay, I'll name it as home.css, and in home.js let me import it properly. This is my home.js, so this is going to be home.css. okay, I'll also need to change the paths of these things. So country card now needs to be imported from component slash country card. Okay, similarly for services it's going to be dot slash services. Okay, so I just updated the paths and that's it. Here I'll say export default home. Okay, now this app.js, see, this app.js will, what it will do is, I'll delete few things from here, just focus. I'll literally delete everything, and now this app, what it will do, it will just return the home component. Okay, and this home component will be imported from pages. My bad, slash home. Okay, and now let's see if this works. So you can see it still works, or it's not working, it's breaking. Okay, let me refresh it. All right, it's not working somehow. So all right, it worked. Okay, so see, sometimes the API takes time. So until and unless we don't get the response from the API, nothing is going to be displayed on the UI, right? Because the country list is getting shown after the API has given us the response, right? That's why there's some time for which you don't see anything on the UI. So you have to wait for some time. See, usually it will take around a second to get the response. Okay, that's going to be a normal time, but sometimes it might take longer. Okay, so see, what change we have done is in app component now we are returning home component. So when you return home component, it basically shows the home page. Okay, now similar to home.js in pages, I'll also create another component. I'll name it as country detail.js. Now this is the page, or this is the component that I'm going to use to show the detailed information of the country. Okay, so let's work on this file. See, I'll export default one function country detail. It will for sure takes props. Okay, and let's say it will return a div, let's say, which says, let's say, details of the country, something like this. Okay, now what I'll do is I'll import this component in app.js. Okay, so I'll say import from dot slash pages slash country detail. Okay, and now here along with home, or I'll also add country detail component. Okay, now what I'll do is, see, I'll comment home component and I'll just keep country detail. So now if you see here, you can see it shows the country detail component, and then if I uncomment home component and then comment country detail component, it shows the home component. Okay, so this is how it's working right now. Now we need some mechanism, okay, some routing mechanism. So what that routing mechanism is going to do for us is, based on the URL which is present in the URL bar right now, it will select the component. So either it will select home component if the URL is localhost :3000. Okay, so there is nothing after localhost, so in that case it will show home component. If the URL is, let's say, /countries /country code, in that case it will basically show this component, which is country detail component. Okay, so this is the mechanism that we need to implement. Now in order to implement this mechanism, we are going to use React router DOM package that we have just installed. All right, so we are going to use couple of things from that package. So let me import them. All right, import. First of all, let's import browser router from React router DOM, from React router DOM. I'm not sure why my editor is not able to identify the issues, so let me, see, there was a mistake, spelling mistake, but then it is not showing an error for that I'm not sure, but I hope for your case it must be fine. So browser router, this is the first thing. Okay, then we are going to import routes. Okay, and then we are going to import route. So these are the three things we are going to use. First of all, let's write this browser router component here. Okay, so let's basically add browser router component to our app JSX. Okay, so this browser router is a component that you need to add, and it should wrap all the components or all the JSX element which needs to use the routing information. Okay, so this ideally needs to be a top level component in your JSX hierarchy. Okay, now after adding browser router, you're going to add routes as child component to it. Okay, see, this routes component is going to return routes. Okay, so it is going to have route information. Okay, so in this case, let's say we are going to have two routes. So first, so you need to add path. So this is my first route, and let's say this is my second route, /countries /country code. Okay, now see, this path is going to have one static path or static field, and it's also going to have a variable field. So imagine it like this: we have path like countries /ind. So in that case it will show India. Okay, a country detail of India. Let's say we have a path with countries /afg. So in that case it will show country detail of Afghanistan. So this second field, which is country code, is variable. So how we can deal with that kind of thing? So whenever you have a variable thing in your path, you can write it like this. You have to write colon followed by some name. Okay, so in this case country code. So then this React router will treat it as a variable field, and it can basically accept any values after countries. So it can accept countries /ind, it can accept countries /afg, it can accept countries /1 to 3. All right, so this is my path for countries /country code. So whenever we get this path, I'm going to show country detail country detail component, and whenever we get this path, I'm going to show home component. Okay, so in order to show the component, we have something called as element. So whenever we have this path, the element that we need to show is home. Okay, and whenever we have this path, the element that we need to show is this country detail. Okay, and now I can delete home and country detail from here. So now the entire control will be managed by this browser router. Okay, whenever we have this path in the URL bar, it will show home component. Whenever we have this path in our browser, it will show this component. Let's see if this works. So I'll go here. Okay, it is saying functions are not valid as React child. This may happen if you return a component instead of component from render. Okay, what's going wrong? Okay, so here we actually need to wrap it. Okay, now let's see. Okay, so now if you see, it works. So there was a mistake, there was one syntax mistake. So here you need to wrap these components. Okay, you need to return them as a JSX. Okay, so I didn't added this triangular bracket around them, that's why it was throwing an error. So now you can see when we have this URL, okay, the root URL, it shows the home page. And if I write something like this /countries / let's say ind, then you can see it shows this page, which is details of the country. Isn't that great? So basically we have integrated the browser router in our application. Let's see what happens if we give some different path here. Let's say something random. So if we give something random, nothing happens, right? So if we handle this case, like if we have some random path, so for that we show a 404 page. Okay, so in order to handle this, we can write path at star. So if we get a path, anything apart from these two paths, then we show a 404 page. So what I can do is I can just say "404 page not found." This is a standard error, right? So if we have any other path than slash or country/country code, then we show the 404 page. So I hope you're clear till this setup. See, I'll explain you the code again. We're importing three things from React Router DOM: browser router, routes, and route. This browser router needs to be wrapping all these things, routes and the individual route. Okay, individual route is wrapped inside routes. Okay, and see, if this individual route takes three props, or not three, two props. First is path, then second is element. Okay, so this is very simple, very straightforward. In path you can specify the path. So the path for countries is a little bit different. So in countries the path is given like this: /countries / country code. Okay, so this country code basically represents the dynamic part inside the path. All right, now let's see how we get this country code, which is the dynamic part of the URL, inside this country detail component. So for that, what I'll do is, see, in order to get the parameter from the URL, that is the variable field of the URL, you need to use something from React Router DOM. Okay, so let's import one hook from React Router DOM. And name of that hook is use params. Okay, you use this hook and it will return you the params that you have added to the URL. In this case, the param that we have added to the URL is country code. This is called as URL param. Okay, so URL param is a variable field in the URL. So I'll get the country code from use params. All right, after getting the country code, I'll just console log it. So I'll say console.log. Let's print country code. So I'll say country code : country code. So let's see if this works. All right, so you can see we are getting country code : ind. All right, so in this case the country code is ind, that's why we are getting ind over here. Let's say if I change it, let's say if I make it AFG, you can see we are getting country code as AFG. All right, so this is basically working as expected. All right, now here this is very interesting. Now after getting the country code, what we'll do is we'll fetch the detail of that country based on the country code. Now how we can fetch the detail of the country based on the country code? That's for that we'll need to take help of the API. Okay, so see here we have different API endpoints. So we have all endpoint that we have used. Then we have name endpoint. So name endpoint is used for searching by a country name. Okay, and this is how you can use this endpoint. You have to write rescountries.com/v2/name, and then you have to write the name. So these are the examples. Okay, we can also search based on the code. So in this case we are passing the code. In our case we are passing the code, right? So we have to basically search based on the code. So we can use this API or this endpoint. So search by ISO 3-letter or 2-letter code, so something like this. Okay, so we can use this API. Let's see if it works. So let me paste it here and let's search for IND. So you can see we are getting the information of India. Okay, let's say if I write AFG, we'll get information of Afghanistan. All right, so this API works fine. So we'll use this API to get information of the country that we are selecting. All right, so let's create one function in the services here. So I'll export it, export function. I'll name it as get country detail. It will take one argument, which is going to be the country code. So country code. All right, and then what it will do is it will return us the response of axios.get. Okay, and in this case I'm going to call, this is the endpoint that we need to call. So I'll just copy this. This is the base URL that we have already stored in this variable. So we just need to add this part to it. This /alpha/code. So the code is coming from country code argument. This is it. All right, now let's call this function in country detail page. Let me go to this page. Okay, so see, whenever the country code changes, so I'll add one use effect. So let's add function here and a dependency array. So whenever we observe a change in country code, so in that case we are going to call this get country detail. Okay, so whenever this country code changes, we are going to call get country detail. Okay, and we are going to pass country code to it, and then we'll wait for the response. Okay, and this country code is, whenever it will be changed, we will pass it to get country detail. So this country code will be used by this get country detail to fetch the detail of that country. All right, once we get the result, what we'll do is we'll just console log result.data. So I'll write console.log. Let's console log result.data. So I'll say result.data. All right, and let's import that function. This needs to be imported, right? So import get country detail from /services. See, after services I'm not writing /index. Okay, because if you have a folder and if you have index.js file inside that folder, then by default if you just write the folder name, it will import it from index.js. okay, the import will be done from index.js. so that's why I'm not writing /index after it, but you can optionally write, that is also fine. All right, so that's it, I guess. Now let's see if this works. I'll go to our application and you can see we are getting the data. You can see we are getting data for Afghanistan. Isn't that great? All right, now we can use this data to show the information of the country. So let's do it. So first of all, here this is going to be the div. This is the wrapper div. Okay, so I'll give a class name to it, country detail wrapper. Let's add a CSS file for this. Let's add style for country detail wrapper. Okay, let's import this CSS into country detail.js. So I'll say import dot slash country detail dot css. All right. All right. First of all, what I'll do is I'll add display as flex. Okay. See, basically I'm thinking of dividing this country detail into two parts. So the first part is going to show flag. So this is going to be the first div. It is going to show flag of the country, and second div is going to show the information of the country. All right. So here what I'll do is I'll add image tag. And in src, what I'm going to pass is, see, after getting the result, you can see this is how the result looks like. Okay, we have flag URL similar to what we had before, right? So we can use flags.png again to show the flag image. All right, so what I'm going to do is, after getting the result, let's add this data to a state. So I'll say I'll add a state here, detail, set detail. This is going to be use state, and initially the detail is going to be an empty object. Okay, see, currently we are dealing with a single object, that's why it is being initialized with empty object. All right, so once we get the result, I'll set the detail with result.data. Okay, now here in image, the src is going to be detail dot flags dot png. Let's give some width to it. Let's say 300 pixels, or for now let's keep it as it is, like this. Then let's give alt text to it. So the alt text is going to be details dot, let's say, country name. Okay, so name. Cool, let's see. Okay, so here let me add this. So see, initially the detail is an empty object, right? So if I do detail.flags, then it's going to be undefined. Okay, and then if I'm doing undefined.png, then that's an error. So that's why I'm adding this question mark before dot, so that if it is a valid value, then and then only it will check the png. All right, so you can see we have flag here now. All right, now over here we'll display additional information of the country. So first of all, let's start with name. So see, first thing first, or let me add a div. See, first thing is the name. So the name of the country. So the name will be details.name. I'll do it quickly. Okay, population, so on. So currency, then capital. Okay, so you can see we have that information. So name is Afghanistan, then population is Kabul. This is strange. So see, population, this is capital. Okay, so capital is Kabul, and then population is this, and then we have currency. So let's see where we are getting the currency. See, in currencies is basically an array of currencies. So see, sometimes few countries have different currencies, like multiple currencies. That's why currencies is an array. So what I can do is, see, we can, for currencies, As it is an array, what we need to do is we need to array of objects. See, it is an array of object, right? So what we need to do is we first of all will map this array and we'll convert this array of object array into array of string. Okay, so see, this is going to have a name of the currency. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll get the individual currency and I'll just return the name of the currency. And after getting name of the currency, so we have array of strings now, which is going to have name of the currencies. We'll just join that array with comma. That's it. So you can see currently we have only single currency, that's why it is showing Afghani. Okay, but let's say if we have 2-3 currencies, then it will show first currency comma second currency and so on. That is what we are doing over here. All right, so I hope you are clear till this point. See, I will not spend much time on working on the UI part of this. Okay, what you can do is you can work on beautification of this page. All right, you can work on the UI part. I'm going to tell you a few things for an exercise for you, so you can work on that part, but I have done the basic setup. Okay, basic setup is ready. You can now add more details. You can see there are so many things. So you can also, along with flags, you can also add map of the country. So you also have map. Let me see if we have it. Okay, we don't have map over here, but you know, you have things like language that country speaks, then whether that country is independent, then what else we have, you have native name of that country and the region of that country. So you can show all these informations along with this. All right, so now what you can do is you can pause the video over here and you can complete the project till this point, and we'll continue on the next part. All right, so now let's continue. Before going ahead, I found one small issue on this page. So if I refresh this now, okay, you can see we are getting so many errors. Okay, why we are getting these errors? It's because, you know, this details.currency.map, this thing is not correct. So whenever this details is going to be an empty object, we are not going to have currencies inside it, so it's going to be undefined. So you can't write undefined.map. So that's why you again need to add question mark here and it will be fixed. All right, so you can see it has been fixed. All right, so with this, let's go to the home page and let's discuss what we need to do now as a next step. See, after coming to home page, you can see we have list of countries. We have cards for each and every country. We need to make this card clickable. Okay, so user can click on it, and then once user clicks on that card, we'll go to detail page of that country. So let's see how we can do it. See, in home.js, we have country card component that we are returning. All right. Now, in order to make this country card as a link, as a clickable thing, we can import a link component from React Router DOM. Okay, and we'll wrap this country card inside link component. So we are telling React that this is a link. Okay, this link is basically a component from React Router DOM. So this link takes one prop, that is 2. So 2 means where this link will take us. Okay, so see, in this case the link will take us to countries /countries / the country code. Okay, so this is the country code. So I'll just copy this and I'll add it here. Okay, so this is a dynamic link basically. So for India, it is going to take us to countries /ind. For Afghanistan, it is going to take us to countries /afg. Let's see if this works. So now you can see things have become clickable. If I click here, you can see we are coming to Afghanistan. If I click on back button, we are coming to home page. Okay, now if I click on Antarctica, you can see it takes us to Antarctica. So now we are in Antarctica. So now the things are clickable. All right, let me go back to the home page. All the cards are clickable right now. The only issue that I see right now is these underlines. So let's see how we can remove them. Let me go back to the code. See, we have this link component that we are using from React Router DOM. So what we can do is we can add one style property to this link component, and we can add text decoration and set it to null. So let's add a style property and let's set text decoration to null. I mean none. Okay. So if you set text decoration to none, then ideally the underlines should go away. So you can see now the underlines have gone away, and now if I, let's say, close this console, you can see now the cards looks very beautiful. You can see all the beautiful flags here and they look good, right? So this is how we are able to basically create the landing page, the home page with all the countries, and then all the country cards are clickable now. So you can click on them and you can go to the detail page of the country. Now at the next step, let's work on adding filters to our application. See, currently we just have list of all the countries. So let's say if someone wants to search a specific country, let's say India, then the only option that they have right now is they can, let's say, do Control F to search, and then let's say they can do India, and then they can search like this, right? But this is not a really good option, and it's hard to use this Control F on mobile devices. So what we can do is we can give filters to our users so that they can filter out the countries. So we need two filters as we discussed in very beginning of this video. First filter will be the name filter. Okay, it will be a text search, and the second filter will be a drop down for the region. All right, so we have multiple continents in our world, so the drop down is going to list all the continents that we have in the world, and then the first filter is going to be the text search. All right, so let's create these two filters. So let's go back to the code. See, over here inside the app, inside this class, this div whose class name is app, we can create another div. Let me give class name to it as filters. Okay, so inside this div we are going to show the filters. So we'll take the filter component from the React MUI library. All right, so first of all we'll need an input box. So let's search for input. This is the basic input component. All right, let's see if we have anything better for our search. All right, let's use the basic one. All right, maybe this one. So, or not this one, let's say this one, the basic one. All right, so let me copy this code. Let's paste it here. Let me format it. See, this text field needs to be imported, so it needs to be imported from here. Okay, so let's see what happens in the UI now. You can see we have this text search. All right, text box over here. So we can change the text, so the label. So let's name as filter by name. Okay, so here we'll get filter by name. So basically the thing that this filter should do is, let's say if I type India here, then only India should be shown here and all the other countries should go away. All right, and let's add another filter which will be a drop down component. So let me go back to React MUI and let's search for drop down. Okay, see, we need to search the component. Somehow it's not searching the component properly. Let's search here in this list. We have drop down. This is not a drop down, this is accordion. Let me search again. Drop down. Let's search for select. Okay, so this select component is a drop down. All right, so see, sometimes the terminology can be different based on the library that you are using. So in this library, the drop down component is called as select component. All right, so let's see which select component we can use. Maybe we can use something like this. Okay, so we have name, like the label over here, and then once you click here you get the options. All right, so this is exactly what we want. So let me expand this. This is the select component, so let's copy the select component. So we might need to copy this entire thing, form control thing. So let me copy that. Let's paste it here. Okay, and now let's copy the imports. Okay, so we need form control, so we have it. Then we need input label, so we don't have it. So let me import input label and also menu item. See, we have input label, so we have imported it. Then we have select, we have imported select here, and then we have menu item, so we have also imported menu item. So let's save it. Let's see if it works. So it's giving us some errors. Age is not defined, handle change is not defined, and form helper text is not defined. So let's go back and let's see. The form helper text is getting imported, so let's import that. What is this age? So see, age is a state, so let's import that as well. So we'll change it later on, but first of all let's import all these things. And handle change, let's import this method as well. All right, let's see if it works now. Okay, this use state also needs to be imported. We have already imported it, so now it should work. Cool. So let's go back, and you can see now we have the drop down, and if I click here we have the options. Okay, we also have some label over here, we don't need that, so let's delete it. Let's delete the import as well, which is not required. All right, so see, now what we are going to do is we are going to populate proper values here. So let's see what continents do we have. So let me go to the REST countries API. See, we have one API which searches the country based on the continents. All right, so we can call it like this, restcountries.com/v2/region, and we can specify the region. So these are the valid regions that it accepts: Africa, Americas, Asia, Europe, and Oceania. Okay, so these can be the possible values in our drop down. So let me copy these values and let's put them here. So see, first of all let's give Africa, then America, then Asia, then Europe, and finally Oceania. All right, also in value let's give equivalent values. So here it will be Africa, here it will be, okay, I'm just giving the lowercase value. See, you can give any value. I mean, see, it should be the same name basically, because we need to send this value to the API. So I'm just giving the lowercase of the name. Okay, and finally Oceania. All right, so cool. Let's see if it works. So you can see we have Africa, Americas, Asia, Europe, and Oceania, and we also have none. So I think we don't need none in our case, so maybe we can delete this item, and let's give proper label over here. So here the label will be region. Okay, now here instead of age, the name of the state, let's change it. Let's change it to region. Here let's change it to set region. Okay, and handle, I'll name it as handle region change. All right, and here let's call set region. Here when select changes, so on change, let's pass handle region change. All right, and the value will be the region. Okay, let's see if it works. So let's go back. Why this field, why this label haven't been changed? Let me see. Okay, we need to change it here. All right, so you can see now we have filter by region. Okay, and what options do we have? We have Africa, America. So if I, let's say, select Africa, you can see Africa is getting populated here. And if I inspect this and go to React components tree and search for the home component, you can see in state we have Africa value. All right, so this is the state where we are storing the region. All right, so this is the state where we are storing the region. So you can see we have Africa value in that state. All right, so I hope you are clear till this point. Now let's also handle, or let's also store the state of this input. All right, because currently this input is not getting handled properly. So let's create another state. Let's name it as country name. This will be set country name. Initially it will be empty. All right, also I'll create a helper function to handle the country change. Okay, so whenever the country name changes, I'll just set country name with that new value. All right, so here for this text field, what I'll do is I'll give this on change event. So on change, we'll call this function, and let's also give the value to it. So the value of this component will be the country name. All right, let's format and save it. Let's see if it works. So if I type, let's say, let's go to home component here. See, initially both these states are empty. Let's say if I select filter as Asia, region as Asia, you can see this state is getting populated with Asia. And let's, in this filter, let's enter, let's say, India. So you can see here the value is getting updated. Okay, we have India here. Let's say if I change the value, let's say USA or United, then you can see we have United here. So both the states are getting populated properly. All right, now the next task that we should do, or we need to do, is once this state changes, once either region or the country changes, country name changes, what we need to do is we need to filter out the countries. All right, we need to filter out the countries from this list. All right, and then we need to show the filtered countries. So let's do that. So it's going to be simple. Okay, so for that, what we can do is we can add a use effect. Okay, this use effect will be triggered when either the region changes or the country name changes. Okay, see, this use effect will be triggered when either the region changes or the country name changes. So to verify, what I'll do is I'll just add a console log, and let's print okay, and let's print the updated value of the region and the country name, sorry, not the list. Okay, cool. Now if I'll go here, go to console, I'll clear the console, and let's say if I type I, you can see region or country name change, and we have I here. Then let's say if I change the region, let's say I set it to Asia, you can see region or country name change, and we have Asia here. So whenever either region or the country name changes, this will be triggered. Okay, this effect will be triggered. All right, so now we can write some logic inside this effect, and we can filter out the countries based on the values that we have here in the states. All right, so see, we have two options here. Either we can make call to the API and we can send these values to the API. All right, this is option number one. And second option is we already have list of all the countries in our application, right? Because initially when we load the application, we make call to get list of all the countries. So we already have list of all countries in our application in the front end itself. So we don't need to make any API call now to filter the countries. We can use the same data that we have locally and we can filter that data. So I think we can take option number 2, that will basically reduce the burden of making the API call. See, always remember, if you have small set of data, then it's always a good idea to apply the filters on UI itself and reduce the burden on API call. Okay, that way the application becomes faster, and you also don't hit API too often. So for small filter logic, you can write it in application itself, the front end itself. You don't need to call the API. So let's do that. Let's apply the filters in the front end itself. So to do that, what I'll do is, see, I'll go to this components, home. Okay, it's loading. Okay, let me refresh it and then let's see. Okay, so this is a state which has all the countries. Okay, list of all the countries, data of all the countries. So let's see what fields do we have here. See, we have a region. Okay, and you can see the region is Asia. Okay, so basically this, each and every country in this list is going to have region. Okay, so this country has region as Asia. If I expand another country, you can see it has region as Europe. All right, so each country has region and each country has the name. Okay, where do we have the name? So let me see. Yeah, here it was the first field itself. So each country has name and the region. So we can use these fields to filter out the countries. All right, so let's start writing the logic of filter. See, what I'll do is, we have countries list. So I'll apply filter on countries list. So I'm just filtering out the countries list. I'm getting individual country in every iteration. So I'll get individual country from the list in every iteration. So what I'll do is, I will see if the country dot region is equal to the current region that we have in the state. Okay, and country dot name. Okay, see, first of all, let's first just see for the region and then we'll see for the name. All right, that way it will be easy for you. So first of all, let's add a condition. If country dot region is equal to region that we have in the state, then I'll return true. That means we want this country in the result. Otherwise I'll return false. So I'll just write return false. Okay, so what I'll do is, I'll just make this use effect only to work for region and not for the country name. All right, so for now let's focus on the region. Also, another important thing, this country list is very important. Okay, we need to have the countries list for this use effect. So what I'll do is, I'll also add countries list to the dependency list. This is also very important. All right, so until and unless we don't have the countries list, we can't use this use effect. All right, so once we get the filtered output, I'll store it, let's say, in filtered countries. Okay, and once we have the filtered countries, what I'll do is, see, we'll create another state. I'll name it as filtered countries. Here I'll say filtered countries list. Okay, so once we have the filter countries, I'll just call set filters countries list and I'll pass this value to it. Okay, it's quite easy, right? Also, whenever we get the countries list for the first time, at that time I'll also set filtered countries list with the initial value. Okay, with all the countries. See, we are doing two things. Whenever we get all the countries for the first time, we are setting filter country list to all the countries, and whenever we apply the region filter, at that time what we are doing is we are filtering the all countries list, okay, countries list, because this list has list of all the countries, and then after doing the filter operation we are getting the subset of that array. So we are setting the filter country list with that subset. All right, so filtered country list will always have the filtered value based on the filters that we have right now in the UI, and this countries list will always have list of all the countries. So that is the difference between these two steps. And now the most important thing is, see, for this component, for showing the countries card, instead of now using country list, I'll use filtered country list, because now we just need to show the filtered countries in the card, right? Or we just need to show the cards for the filter countries, not for all the countries. So this is the logic. Let's see if it works. So I'll go back. Okay, so currently see nothing is getting shown, and the reason why nothing is getting shown is currently if you see this use effect, we have region as empty. So you can see here the region is going to be empty. All right, so what will happen is none of the country will be filtered out. I mean, the filter countries array will be an empty array because each country belongs to some region. So this condition will be always false. That's why it will always return false from this filter function, right? So that's why no country will be present in this filter countries. So what I'll do is here I'll add a check. If my region is an empty string, if it is an empty string, in that case what I'll do is I'll set filter countries back to all countries. Okay, so if my region is an empty array, okay, so if my region is an empty string, so in that case what I'll do is I'll set filter countries list back to all countries list. All right, so let's see now. I'll go to, let me refresh this. Something is going wrong. You can see there's a blink. All right, so let's understand why that is happening. So you can see this all countries list, or the countries list has list of all the countries, but this state is empty. It's an empty array. All right, so somehow this filtered country list is getting set to an empty array, and that the reason is, after setting filter list to all country list when the region is empty, we don't need to execute this, right? So this needs to be part of the else statement. So let me add else statement here, and this should be part of the else. So now logic is very simple. See, if region is empty, then we are setting filter countries back to country list. If region is not empty, then we are finding the filtered list, all right, and then setting filter country list to filter countries. All right, so now you can see it shows all the countries. You can see it's a big list. All right, now let me apply a filter for region. Let's apply filter for Oceania. Okay, so there is no country literally, and I'll tell you reason. I know why this is happening. So if I select, let's say, Africa, even after selecting Africa, nothing is getting shown or nothing is getting added to the filter country list. And the reason behind that is, see, our region is a lowercase value. You can see it is a lowercase value, but if I expand any of the country, the region is like this. Okay, so what we need to do is, in our drop down here, the value needs to be the same as this. All right, so I made it lowercase, but actually it's of no use for our use case. Normally in drop down, what we do is, whenever we show something to the user, what user sees is going to be in sentence case, and the value itself is going to be in lowercase. Okay, but it can be changed based on the condition. All right, so let's refresh it now and let's see if it works. Okay, so now we have all the countries. All right, now let's filter, let's say, Africa. You can see now we just have the African countries. Now you can see the list has become very small, or I'll say it has become smaller. You just see the African countries now. All right, let's filter out European countries. So now you can see the European countries. Isn't that great? For example, we have Ukraine, Switzerland, UK, Sweden. So these are all European countries. Portugal, then Ireland, Vatican City, right? Let's filter out Asia. So you can see all Asian countries here. All right, and let's see what we have in Oceania. So these are the countries which are from Oceania region. All right, and let's see what we have in America. So these are the countries in American region. All right, so now our region filter is working fine. All right, so I hope you are clear till this point. I hope you're clear how we applied the region filter. Now let's move ahead and let's see how we can apply the country name filter. So let's see that. So the same use effect, we'll use the same use effect. Now along with region, we'll also add this country name to the dependencies. So whenever the country name changes, this will be called. All right, now in this filter we have this condition, if country.region equal to the region that we are getting. So along with this, we also need to add additional conditions. So let's do that. So what I'll do is I'll get country dot name. See, let's get name of the country. Let's convert it to lowercase. All right, so that we ensure that, see, sometime what can happen is user can type something is, let's say, in capital case, or let's say in lowercase. So we can't guarantee that. So for that, what we can do is here, let's convert the name to lowercase. Okay, and whatever country name we have, let's also convert that country name to lowercase. Okay, so now both the things have been converted to lowercase. So now what we can do is we can check whether this filter is substring of the country name of the country, all right, that we have currently. So let me store this data in, let's say, lowercase name. So this should include the country name to lowercase. Okay, see, so now we have two conditions. First of all, the country region needs to be the region that we are getting. Okay, this is condition number one, and the lowercase country name should include the country name filter, which we are again converting to lowercase. Okay, so this should be a substring of lowercase name. So if both these conditions are true, then and then only we are going to get the country in the filtered output. All right, so let's see if this works. Let me go back to the UI. Okay, let's refresh. Now let me search, let's say, India here. Okay, nothing happens. Okay, so I think now we have another issue. So let me go back to the code. So see, I think the issue is over here. Currently what's happening is we have the country name filter active, but this region filter is not active, and this has empty string as its value, right? So this if condition is getting executed, and then we are setting filter country list back to all country list. All right, and then this else part is not getting executed. That's why this logic is not working, right? So now let's handle this smartly. Here what I'll do is I will add one more condition. So if region is empty and my country name filter is also empty, so in that case we'll set this filter country list to country list. Okay, in else what we will do is we'll handle region filter and the country name filter separately. So let's say, first of all, if my region filter is not empty, okay, so I'll say if region dot length, that means region has some value. So in that case, what I'll do is, let me initialize this filtered countries here with an empty array. And let me take this logic inside this. Okay, so here what I'll do is, let me copy this logic and paste it here as well. So here what I'll do is I'll just add the logic for the region filter, and I'll remove the logic that we just added. So this is step number one, where we are filtering based on the region. And I'll give you exercise for this. Okay, so you have one exercise that I'll give you where you will need to enhance this logic. All right, and let's add another if condition to check whether we have the country name. So I'll say country name dot length. So if we have country name dot length, then in that case what we'll do is we'll again filter out the filtered countries. So here, see, what I'll do is, initially the filter countries will be list of all the countries. Okay, so first of all, let's filter out the filtered countries. Initially they will be all countries, so I am filtering them for the region, based on the region. Then I'm getting the filtered countries. Now I'll filter again the filtered countries, this time only for the name, the country name filter. Okay, and then I have the final filtered countries, which I'm setting in set filtered country list function. So this is my updated logic. This is my step number 2, where we are filtering based on, see, I'll explain it once again. Initially what I have done is I've set filtered countries to all countries. This is, see, this country list is basically a list of all countries. Let me actually rename this. So let's rename country list to all countries list. Okay, so initially what I've done is I've set filter countries to all countries list. All right, now after that, if I think that I have a region. Okay, now after that, if we have the region, so if region dot length is not 0, so what we'll do is we'll filter the filter countries. So here the filter countries value will be all country list. All right, so we'll have all countries in filter countries, so we'll filter that based on the region and we get the filtered countries. Okay, now in step number 2, if we also have the country name set, I mean the country name is not an empty string, so in that case we'll filter the countries based on the country name. All right, and here the filter countries will be not necessary it will be having all country list. Okay, it can also be a subset of all country list, because if we have the region filter, then it will filter first of all for the region and then it will filter for the country name. All right, so this is how it is going to work. Let's see if this works properly in the UI. So I'll go back. So let's search India. Oops, something breaks. Let's see. Okay, so it is saying country.name.to lowercase is not a function. There must be some issue. 2 lowercase. Okay, so there is a typo here. So this is 2 lowercase, so this C needs to be capital. Cool. Let's see now. Let's search. Okay, it breaks again. It says lowercase name dot include is not a function. Okay, so this should be includes, not include. So again there's a typo. So this auto suggestion is not working right now for my VS Code, and that's why these mistakes are happening. So now it should work, I guess. So let's search India. Finally it works. So you can see the filter works, right? So you can see we have 3 options or 3 filtered countries: India, then Indonesia, and then British Indian Ocean Territory. All right, so this filter basically works. Let me clear this. Let me add Asia as a region filter, and now let me search for IND, let's say. So now we just have 2 countries, India and Indonesia. Okay, so basically both the filters are working in sync. Okay, both of them are working together as well properly. So now our filter logic is working as per the requirement. So I hope you are clear with the filter logic that we have implemented, and I hope you are clear with all the things that we have covered so far. All right, now it's the time for you. I'll give you a few exercises for you for this project. First of all, the first thing that you need to do is you should add a navigation bar for this project. Okay, currently this lacks a navigation bar, so you should add a navigation bar to it. So maybe you can add a navigation bar and you can create a small logo for the world. So if you see the initial part where I showed a demo of the application that I built, so in that we had a logo for the world. All right, so you can add some navigation bar and add some logo to it. So this is first exercise, adding a navigation bar. The second exercise will be to make the UI better, okay, for home page as well as for the detail page. See, currently these filters are not aligned properly. You can see they are misaligned, and also they are very small in size. So what you can do is you can give them 50% width of the page. So this will take 50% width, the filter by name filter, and filter by region filter will take 50% of the width. So this is what you can do for the home page. So for home page, you need to add navigation bar and you need to change the filter size to 50% width. All right, so these are the two things. The another thing that you can also do is, see, currently I don't have option to clear this filter, so let's implement that quickly. See, here for this drop down, I'll create an option with, let's say, none, or let's say all. So it will be all the regions. All right, and the value will be an empty value, so that if I select all, it should show all the countries. Okay, see, if we select all, the value of the region is set to an empty value. So what will happen is, as the region is empty and as country name is also empty, it will set filter country list to all countries. All right, so I hope you are clear with this. So yeah, for home page, just align these filters properly and add a navigation bar. Also, you can do one more thing. So you can adjust the size, the width of this cards a little bit, because you can see if the name is bigger, then the height of the card is changing for few of the countries. So for example, this country, American Samoa, so for this the height of the card is getting changed because its name is little bigger. All right, so you have two options: either increase size of the card, or maybe you can add ellipsoid for the name. All right, so if the name is bigger, then it will show triple dot after it. So this is pretty standard practice that we use in our UI development. So two options: either increase the size of the card or increase or add the ellipsoid after the name. All right, and let's discuss about this page. So this page is right now pretty basic, so you can work on it. You can add navigation bar, you can add more information here, and also work on the styling part, so make it little beautiful. But see, I have covered all the important functionalities regarding the React.js. Now it's just the CSS task. All right, HTML CSS task, and you can do it for sure very easily. So with this, let's end this video. Thank you so much for watching this video till the end. I hope you will complete this project, and I hope you will add this project to your GitHub profile. Don't forget to add this project to your GitHub profile and share the URL of your GitHub profile in the comment below. All right, I'll definitely check your project if you build it and share the URL in the comment. So see you in the next video. In next video, we'll cover another interesting project on React.js. See you in the next video.